Okay, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. Today, we are going to do something different. We are going to do our first ever Tech Talk. This is going to be our Learning Technologies Tech Talk, and we're going to talk about Twitter in the classroom. And I have here today a faculty member from the College of Architecture. His name's Alex Chen. And he's going to give us some insight on what he's been doing in his classroom with the use of Twitter and just some of the ups and downs and some of the recommendations for anyone else that may be considering using Twitter. And, feel free to ask questions. You can chime in using the chat box. You can raise your hand with the icons at the bottom, or you can just talk directly to us using the Wimba interface. So I guess I'm going to start by introducing Alex and letting him kind of talk about himself, what department he's with, what class he's doing this Twitter technology in, and we'll take it from there.
Hey, I'm Alex Chen. I'm in the Urban Studies and Planning program in the School of Architecture, and I'm trying to use Twitter in an honors course, Planning for the Cities. It's about 20 students. We hold the class in the School of Architecture, so it's a normal classroom setting. And I've been trying to use Twitter in a number of different ways. I guess the justification was I wanted to make the class entertaining. This is an elective class. So the plan was to provide videos that students could watch at home and read other articles and so forth. But I wanted to engage them in their work and kind of get their feelings about what they were seeing in real time. So the thought was, as they see the movie, I would have questions. I'd give them printed questions and say, just Twitter what you think about so-and-so saying this and that. And we would then compile the question, their tweets, I guess, and then at the next class discuss their comments about the movie that they were seeing. The other thing that we do in the class is it's a planning course, so they do some field work, and their project this semester was to walk down Route 1 and see the good and the bad. And as they walk down Route 1, to tweet comments about, general appearance, why is it the way it is, what they'd like to see changed, and so forth. And again, we compile the comments, and actually the planner from College Park is coming next Monday, I think. And we would just, throw the comments on the board and say, look, this is what students say about the area. Can you comment? So this tweeting thing was a way to kind of engage students more into a learning process, try to make it more real-time commentary about what they're seeing. And I guess the other thought I had was, I thought I was the only one in the world that didn't tweet. I mean, it seemed like everybody was doing it, and I wasn't, and I thought the class did. And so I thought, well, we'll give it a shot and see how it goes. So we're gradually entering the Twitter phase, and we're seeing how it works.
Right. That's great. So, describe your classroom environment. Are you kind of in a lab setting? Are you in a huge lecture hall?
It's a normal classroom that seats about 40, and they sit around just as a normal lecture hall. So I lecture. I have a normal PowerPoint lecture. We've incorporated blogging. We're using the blog capabilities with WordPress, and students give oral presentations. And they have to write up their summary of their presentation on the blog so it can be shared with everybody. The nifty thing I think about the blog is that it's a blog that's shared with the class and with my graduate planning class, which also has that same assignment to report on some planning newsworthy event. And students are asked to comment on the news articles that they see. But in general, it's a normal class.
How many people in your class?
There are 20 students in the class. When we first thought about Twittering, the issue that struck me is that most kids have a phone or bring their laptops, and wasn't quite clear what they were doing in class once that stuff going on. And I thought, well, I could design assignments as I lecture or as I show a film where kids could then Twitter in real time. But then I thought that might be asking too much. Not everybody brings their laptop, not everybody has a phone. So I have this kind of other kind of way of getting them to use it by saying, when you watch the movie at home, and we're using the streaming media video capability from the library, which is great, they can make comments. Or as they're walking down a sidewalk, tell me what you think. That's how we're doing it now.
Interesting. So, you mentioned using a lot of other technology. So, would you say that your students were already tech savvy, or were they kind of familiar with Twitter already when you started using it?
Well, actually, I thought, as I said before, I was the only one in the world that did not know about Twittering. And I'm still not an expert by any means. But first of all, not everybody had a Twitter account, and so I had emailed everybody up front before classes started. I said, everybody get a Twitter account, and I thought everybody would have had one already, which wasn't true. And I actually didn't give any startup. I said, have the Twitter account ready, and I just assumed that I'd give the assignment, and bang, they would just Twitter away. And that was my bad. They're not all as savvy about this Twittering as I thought. I've had a few students say, well, I'm not quite sure what to do. This is the first time I've Twittered, and I'm not sure the message is getting through. I think I spoke to you, Akila, and I said, well, I want to have like a listserv and create a list so I don't have to go plow through all these messages that you're getting when you're on Twitter. And students weren't really familiar with how to use it and why to use it. I've had students that thought Twitter is the same as emailing me. I have.
How could they make that mistake now?
and so the startup was, I think, was a little harder than I thought. What I should have done, when I think about it, is for the other application, I created those Camtasia videos on, how to post on a blog, how to comment on a blog, how to use this new software, and it just didn't cross my mind to say, this is how you get onto Twitter.com. This is how you post a message. This is what I mean when I say there's a list for you to use. This is how you can check whether it works. In hindsight, I'll do this next time I use Twitter, and I probably will. I should have more of these kind of videos, online videos, and maybe spend 15 minutes in class saying, this is what this is all about.
Hold on, do we have a question? Is someone trying to speak? Carol, are you trying to speak to us?
Oh, no, I'm just trying to listen. Sorry.
No problem. We'll keep talking then.
Okay.
Okay, so you were talking about, having some type of how-to or instructional type of thing. So how do you support? Like, do you have TAs? Are you doing all the support yourself?
We don't have TAs.
Oh, okay.
I'm learning all of this myself. Over the summer, I saw June give the Camtasia video demo. Lee did the thing on the blog. You did the thing on the Twitters. And so I said, what the hell? I'll just, give it a shot. And I've been trying. I guess I used to do computer-aided design demos back in the day. And what I learned, or my lesson, is that to get students engaged in this new technology, you really have to be right on the mark up front. And it's just my view of the world, actually. And that you really have to make sure things are under control. And I think I kind of lost a few kids when they try something new and it doesn't work right away, and then they think it's just like crazy. And so I'm trying to figure out a way now, there's only week 3 or 4 or something, how to pull them back into this twittering thing. And so last Monday, I said, go to Giga Tweet, and we can show you with the hashtag what you're saying, and we can follow what you're doing, and then when the guest speaker comes, we'll bring up Giga Tweet and show her all the comments you've made and have her respond to try to get them more engaged. I think they kind of have mixed reviews on this twittering. Why are we doing it? What's useful for? We have more movies coming up, and maybe at home they'll feel more comfortable. But it was a learning experience. I didn't know. Give it a shot, see if it works, see if the kids like it, see if I like it. I think I could have used a little more training about how you can use the Twitter capabilities in a teaching environment, and what kind of exercises, what kind of activities, more how-tos that the students could have looked at, that type of stuff. Because I think if they think it's worthwhile on day one, it's a lot easier than if 3 weeks pass and they're kind of saying, I don't know about this. I got other things to do. And so, the Twitter seemed to work fairly well, but not as well as I'd like. But I probably will do it again. I think there's something there. I just got to figure out, how to really maximize its effectiveness. The blogs work. I think the blog, kids like the blog, but I really managed to have the how-tos.
Right.
On the other hand, that was a case where, I just thought I sign up, set up the blog, and say, do it. And then you worry about things of authorship and, what a student can do and can't do. And those are the kinds of, dopey issues that kind of set you back a week or so.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing when anytime you're trying to introduce anything new, you have to work out some of the kinks. And people may be more comfortable with blogs, I'm not sure, than Twitter. But, I mean, this is also a great way to kind of engage the students. Would you say that your participation has increased in the classroom, or?
Well, what I would say is that I think the tweets that I do get, I would have never gotten in class, in classroom discussion without pulling teeth here.
Give us an example.
Well, they're walking. The assignment is Route 1, which is the gateway to our campus, and the assignment is to walk down and say, how does this measure up with an introduction to the University of Maryland? Are you surprised by how it looks? What do you think could be done? And you get tweets like, wow, I didn't realize how bad it was, or don't understand why it's still this way. I'm really surprised. I visited Arizona, and boy, the Main Street looks so much nicer. And I think it leads into when the planner from College Park comes in to kind of address those, quick little comments. In a classroom, if I said, what do you think about Route 1, you're going to get some answers, but not this kind of off the cuff, just this.
So you felt like there was a lot of honesty or a lot of
honesty, because you walk by that liquor store between the two new buildings, and they might have thought about it in the classroom, but if you're walking down Route 1 and you see that tattoo joint, the liquor store, and then the streets that are not walkable, as they're tripping around, they should be able to just tweet and say, whoa, what's going on? Why is it like this? And why is it like this is sufficient. Because that's
I see what you mean. So it was more like because they are walking and tweeting. They're not tweeting necessarily in the class for this particular assignment.
For this particular assignment, the idea was, you can walk around and you have your phone.
Oh, okay.
What the hell? So tweet something and see what's going on. And, I think that kind of spontaneous observation that they make is important. I think it kind of clarifies it in their head when you talk about it in class. They'll be asked to, to expand on this, what was the problem? And then when we have the planner there to explain, the jurisdictional, all the planning issues that surround it, then I think students become a little more thoughtful about what needs to be done. I asked them to comment on, I think President Lowe in the Diamondbacks a couple of weeks ago says, making College Park a #1 college town, something like that. And I asked them, what do you think about that? And, you get a couple. I don't know how it's going to get done. Route 1 looks like this. Maybe we need to do something. So there's something there, but I'm not quite sure whether it's my lack of technical expertise in terms of the possible applications of how to use the tweets,
right,
or the technology itself. Maybe this is not the way to go. Maybe just call me on the phone. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, it sounds like you've already got a great dialogue going between the students and trying to portray the material that you want them to say and get the message across.
The challenge is in teaching an elective undergraduate course on planning, which is not top 10 here. Trying to figure out what kind of projects, what kind of issues are important to students is always a challenge. But we have a great laboratory here at College Park and Route 1. So I think that's something that I think the Twittering idea can help.
Right. Well, that's great. That's great to know. So let me see. So I know you had talked about students using Twitter and getting them going, and some of the other activities and assignments you had them use. Do you ever use it live in the classroom, while you're having discussion or watching a video?
Yeah, that's like Plan B. The idea is actually the motivation. One of the underlying motivations is that I'm in the School of Architecture. We do critiques or critiques of student work. It's kind of like what we do, or what the architects do. And you have a student giving a presentation of his work, and the rest of the class is observing. The majority, it struck me, have laptops. And the thought was, as a student gives a critique or a presentation of his or her work, students that are at their laptops could tweet, what their comments about the work was without interrupting the student, and then the teacher can, at an opportune time, to say, let's stop, let's see what people are saying, and then use the tweet as a way to guide the discussion. And when I talked to a colleague, he said one of the problems when you do this sort of scenario is that same people raise their hands, and there's a tendency that the focus of the discussion goes a certain way. With the anonymity of a tweet, anybody can put in their 2 cents. And then the teacher can look at these tweets and guide the discussion. And so the feeling was, if you had the tweeting capability, you would have a broader consensus of what the issues are in the classroom. So that's Plan B, bringing it into a classroom with everybody with the computer. I'm going to talk to the architecture faculty to see how that works, or if it would work. And this notion that, seeing the live tweets stream up just looks like an appealing thing. It looks like a fun thing to do. It's just whether or not, it disrupts the class too much. And that's when we said, well, we'll keep it in, and then after 5 minutes, let's see what the class said. Yeah. That's fun. That seems to make sense.
Yeah, I wonder if anyone out there has had any experience with this, or has any questions for us or comments, about using Twitter in the classroom. Please ask us some questions, or feel free to chime in. We have a question, Professor Chen. Yes. Are you going to grade the assignment? And if so, how do you grade the assignment for the Twitter?
Twitter, all of this media stuff, and I think anybody who's gone down this road, I have particular issues problems with the blog, with the wiki and the collaborative work. Tweeting at best, I think what I'm going to look at is participation. You know, it's very hard, at least for me, to grade, to figure out a grading schema in terms of, you know, the quality of a tweet, because I think, at least with respect to tweets, it's spontaneity, and I don't want to go down that road. The same broader problems with, I have the students keep a student journal. Every week, 50 to 100 words, they have to write something in their journal that they and I are the only viewers. And they're supposed to talk about what they learned in class and how it relates to their major. You know, I specifically said, I don't want a summary of what you read or anything like that. I just really want you to think about how you think planning for the cities relates to your major. You could be an engineering major, infrastructure is an issue, biology, health and sustainability. There's got to be a way. And I take the time, and I actually plow through. Now I only got 20, so it's only moderately a pain.
Yeah.
But
I can imagine for a larger sports format, I can't imagine.
See how a large, randomly picked. I think I know colleagues that randomly picks.
Oh, okay.
But and I comment, you know, and stuff, and it's really a way to make students feel that, you know, they're engaged and I'm interested, and I am kind of what to say. But grading goes, you know, I grade them on, you know, whether they've really made an honest attempt to do what I've asked. It's really hard. I don't know. I asked it at all the training sessions. How do you grade tweets? How do you grade journals? How do you grade blogs? You know, you can kind of do quality, but I think part of it is the challenge for me for an honors elective course was to make students feel cities were important to their lives. And so one of the priorities is engagement. And then the other part was, you know, substantively learning the materials. And I have online exams now. They have readings to do, and every week I just have an online exam, and that's my guarantee they're reading the stuff. So it's a great question. I would have asked the same question of me myself. How do you grade these tweets? I don't know. You know, I hate Route 1. It's okay. You know, what do you say to that? I don't know. I really don't.
It looks like we have another question. How would you describe the process for setting up a Twitter? Like, just from start to
Well,
finish.
you know, I was just talking to Keela, and I thought I was the only one in the world that didn't know how to tweet. And so, essentially, I wrote them an email. I gave them the site. I said, go to twitter.com, and if you don't have a Twitter account, get one, and then let me know you logged in. And then from there, I really thought, I don't have to think about it. I'd say, you know, the game plan was I would then, everyone has a hashtag. There's a hashtag for the class, you know, pound HNR228B. So I could search on that. So I said, every time you write, put in that tag. I think it's a pretty unique tag. I don't think anybody's going to have that.
Yeah, I think so far.
And I would just, you know, follow it. First, not everybody knows about tweets. Second of all, not that savvy. Third, you know, we had an enormous problem that the tweets weren't getting through. For example, my tweets weren't getting through. And I think I was emailing Akila saying, you know, I'm tweeting, but I don't see it anywhere. Right. What's going on?
Yeah, I think we were looking at that. After doing some digging, I found that when you initially set up a Twitter account, Twitter has to actually index your account in your tweets. So that takes a couple of days. So don't be discouraged if you do set up a Twitter account and you don't see your tweets show up in searches. It should start to show up in a day or two as Twitter goes through its process of indexing. So that was something unique that I wasn't aware of. But as the more you start using it, obviously you'll show up and you're already indexed, so you wouldn't have that problem. But that is one thing to consider if you're a new user, if you have a bunch of new users.
So then the other thing I wanted to do was I wanted to avoid all these tweets. You know, I follow maybe like 3 people in the world. just because I'm nosy. But I didn't want to, I didn't want to follow the students, frankly. I thought the tag was a way to kind of control for that. But then Akila said, why don't you create a list,
Right.
which would be for a group of users. And I thought that would be like a listserv,
Right.
where, I would just be contacting the kids in the class. And Twitter has this list function. And it was pretty easy. It said, I go to my site, I get on, and it says, hit list, you want to create a list? I said, yes. And then I said, who do you want on it? And I put in all the login accounts that the students gave me, and that was, and I thought that would mean when I sent something out, it would just go to that group of students that I subscribed to the list. And conversely, if a student did something, I would just get that. I would just have to go to the list and I don't have to deal with all this other stuff that's coming down the top pipe. I'm not sure that's how it works. And so when I go to so first I went to the list. The first thing I noticed is that none of my tweets were on the list. And so I remember what Akila said, it takes time to index. And I said, okay, I'll wait. I got a few tweets from some of the students, but one student's a very active Twitter guy, and I got everything, and I wasn't sure I wanted that. And then some students are not being viewed. I don't know where they are or what they're doing. So it wasn't clear that's how to get at them. So then Plan C, if I called Akila again, and she said, go to GigaTweet, and that seems to be the best way that I can kind of get a handle on limiting the tweets, because everybody has that hashtag, and GigaTweet lets me search or filter on that tag. It seems fairly robust in the sense I'm getting I see what I write, I see what the students write. I think when the planner comes, it's a nice way of just calling up GigaTweet and say, let's look at these tags. I had asked students to put another tag, and I thought I could do a double filter. I'm not sure that worked.
Yeah, you can do double filter.
So they were going to do HNR228, and then I said, put a tag Route 1. And the idea was then any tag that had both those filters would come up, and then the student see it. So the question, how I set up? Slowly. But I've learned. I think the next time around it'll be a lot smoother.
Yeah. Because
I'll know what to expect. I mean, when my tweets weren't popping up, and you said you had to wait for the index, I went on and looked at the help thing, and they said something about the profile. Had to be more up to date or something. Had to be more complete.
More complete? That's strange.
Well, I thought it was a marketing thing on their part.
Yeah.
But I diligently went to my profile, and I put in more information because I'm a little reluctant to do that. But I don't know.
I wonder if that has something to do with the more information you have, the more priority you have when they do their indexing.
That's what they were kind of implying. I still think it was a gimmick, but I added a few more things.
Gotcha. Yeah, in case there's a bunch of helper applications out there for using Twitter. The GigaTweet that Professor Chen keeps referring to, you can actually get to it. It's gigatweet.com, or you can Google GigaTweet. Basically, it's a live tweet streaming application. So in the event that you do want to display your tweets, in a classroom setting, it gives you a way to kind of search or filter the tweets by hashtag, for instance. And you can have multiple columns. If anyone out there is an avid Twitter user, then you may be familiar with like TweetDeck. Well, GigaTweet is like the web browser version, kind of, sort of. So you can have different columns, and you can filter it by like different types. So, you can have, your main course tag in one column, and then maybe something more specific in another column. And it actually updates live. So, if you were to eventually transition into, using it more live in the classroom, then you could also have that up, and, it'll actually be updating as people are tweeting. So
I think for the architecture example, that's kind of what we were thinking, that then you could just, as they come in, But you'd have to be sure that the tweets are coming through. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have to check that out.
Yeah, I think maybe that would be something you'd have to get them tweeting first,
Yeah.
maybe for the first couple of weeks, and then after you can confirm everyone's tweets are showing up, then maybe using it then would make sense.
The other thing that I've done is for the assignments next month. We assume everybody's going to have tweets working and stuff. Is that so? The homework assignment is watch this movie, answer these questions based on the movie, like what did you think? Do you agree, disagree, that sort of stuff. And then each response is linked to a unique tweet, hashtag,
Right.
HNR228B _1_2_3. So the notion is just figuring out a way to filter out all the stuff that comes down the pike, and I'm hoping that'll work. And so I think, according to what you're saying, Kayla, that if they have a unique tag, by the time the assignment is due, I can just go to GigaTweet
And you'll see them.
and see them all one at a time. That's the game plan.
Yeah, and then you'll be able to easily review them with the students, right there. So I think that pretty much covers it, Professor Chen. Does anyone else have any questions? Would they like to see a demo? Any more comments? Let us know. Okay. Well, do you have any last words, any food for thought you wanted to say just really quickly, like in a minute, less than a minute, 30 seconds?
Campus has this thing on blended learning and using all this online stuff. And I think we have, I thought we have to kind of look into it at least a little bit just to see how it works. And so I took all the workshops and I tried it. Some work, some don't. Just need a little tweaking with it.
So you would definitely recommend people come to our blended learning workshop.
Yeah.
Good for you, Professor Chen.
Quick and dirty. Get it done.
All right. Well, thank you guys for coming, and we'll see you next Tuesday at 12:30 for our regular weekly webinar series.